G'day guys and welcome back. Young Earth creation is something that is being pioneered by convicted felon Kent Hovind. The likes of Ken Ham, who you may know from the Ark experience. He's the dude that built a life-size Noah's Ark and filled it full of crap, really. And today's subject, Matt Powell. They believe the Earth is 6,000 years old, or something along those lines. And is one of the more accepted conspiracy theories out there. It has no warning on YouTube, like the flat Earth ones do. You know, with that little bar underneath the video saying that it is scientifically inaccurate or it is misinformation. Young Earth creationists don't get that. We need to change that. Enjoy. As mentioned in the intro, this is a video by Matt Powell, and it is called the 5 Powerful Proofs of Creation. I think he means like young Earth creation. We'll say it's already getting in there. Let's go.
I wanted to do a video about the top 5 proofs of a young universe.
I really wish you hadn't though, because now I have to do a response to your 5 proofs. But we each have our burdens.
And just demonstrate that the universe is not 13.7 billion years old like people have said, but that it's actually young and was created recently. And the first reason that we know this is because of short period comets. Now, if you're not sure what those are, they are balls of ice that are floating about in space right now, and they deteriorate in less than 10,000 years.
First point, comets are a little more than just balls of ice. They're, what's the best analogy for them? The best way to describe it, I've read in a book, was like an ice cream sundae. You have your ice cream, which is your solid clump. It's usually rocks. They're not a solid rock. They're lots of rocks all clumped in together, and then you have the topping around the outside, which smooths the outside, but you can get cracks in it where these gases escape from, and then sprinkle your nuts on top. And then that's the little jagged rocks we got sticking out. So it's like a loose collection. It's not exactly a loose collection. It's quite a tightly packed collection of rock, not ice. Some of it's ice, not all of it. And then it's got this smooth, liquidy, again, it's loosely packed rocks over the tightly packed rocks. Some of it, again, yes, it is ice. And other gases all trapped in. They're not gases, they're materials in a liquid or a solid state. Everything is solid until it starts moving towards the sun. And then you get the outgassing, and that's why comets have tails, is all the outgassing, and that changes comets' trajectories and things like that. Now, comets come from the Kuiper Belt, as well as the Oort cloud. Now, many creationists argue against the existence of the Oort cloud. We know it's there through inference. And short-term comets, 10,000 years for a cometary orbit. We can calculate the orbits of comets quite simply using orbital mechanics, and we may only see this comet for maybe 20 years and know how long its orbit is going to take around the sun just based on its trajectory. That trajectory can change for comets though due to outgassing, as I mentioned. But not all comets are short term. We know of comets that have tens of thousands of years, but we don't know of any that are older. This is not proof for a young universe at all. Now, the great misconception is that people think that the Earth and the solar system is the same age of this universe, with 13.8 billion years, whatever. The Earth itself is only 4.8 billion years. That's a big difference. Now, we don't know any comets that have a 14 or 4 billion year orbit. That's just ridiculous. So, this whole short period comets thing is not a very good claim.
Yeah, and so short period comets are all over our galaxy, all over the solar system.
We don't know of anything outside our solar system as far as comets go. They're too small. We can't see them beyond our solar system. Now, our solar system does extend quite a fair way out. Some estimates are up to maybe 3 light years. Now, that is a really long way, considering that the nearest star is only 4 light years away. So our solar system and Proxima Centauri's solar system essentially are overlapping. That's irrelevant though. We don't see comets outside of our solar system. We barely know the comets inside of our solar system. Minor point, I know, but I needed to make it.
They are going about in an orbit and they are deteriorating over time. And if our solar system was 4.5 billion years old, those things would not even exist. They would have completely deteriorated by now.
No. A comet is relatively small. Most comets are maybe the size of a bus. But if you get a comet that is up to 1 kilometer, that is still very small. And there are billions and billions of these things. So if you had one comet every year, you still wouldn't use up all the comets out in the Oort cloud. And we don't get this many comets. So that argument can already fall flat. If the solar system was as young as you're claiming, then we would see comets a lot more frequently than we do. But we don't.
The second proof is simply the planet Pluto. Pluto is warm on the inside. Now,
look. Alright. This is... We were all devastated when Pluto was demoted from being a planet. You don't need to rub it into us. Alright? It's too soon. But I digress. It's just being called a dwarf. Poor Pluto.
if Pluto was from 4.5 billion years ago, when it finally was created back then, it would be freezing cold on the inside. There's no way that something could just stay that warm for that long, for the course of 4.5 billion years.
Well, there is. It's called radiation and radioactive decay. The Earth, for example, is very hot in the center, and there's no reason Pluto wouldn't be hot in the center. It has a magnetic field, as far as I remember. And when they say that a planet is warm, it's not that it's like Earth and warm and tropical. It means that it is above 0 Kelvin. And Pluto is above 0 Kelvin. Everything is. But it's still... You still wouldn't vacation there, right? I think you'd rather vacation on Mars. Mars is considered warm, but it's not. It's bloody cold. The mean temperature on Mars is like -1 degrees. And then you go closer to the sun, you got Venus, which is just unbelievably hot because of its atmosphere, its retrograde orbit, and retrograde rotation, or whatever. Not its orbit, its rotation. But being warm doesn't negate it being old. You just don't understand the science behind radioactive decay, how it can keep an object warm. And even with its moon, they can, the way they pull at each other, even that alone is enough to heat the interior of a planet, or a dwarf planet. You'll always be a planet to me, Pluto. You'll always be a planet!
If you came to my house and saw a hot cup of coffee on the table, you would never assume that that cup of coffee was 4.5 billion years old.
Well, if that coffee had a surrounding that kept it in that state, like a vacuum of space. Space is a great insulator. Like, it's the best insulator there is. And it's also not cold like everyone thinks. I mean, sure, it's pretty far from the sun. Not much heat from the sun does get there. But as I explained, you got the radioactive decay. Also, are you inviting me over for coffee? Because, sure, I'll come over for a coffee.
I'm sorry, it would have cooled off over the course of just 10 minutes. But people have no problem believing that things happen to stay warm for 4.5 billion years.
Well, here's a great example. This is a coffee I made before making this video. Now, you may not know this, but this is actually the second take of making this video. And this coffee is still quite hot. And delicious. Oh, damn, I love coffee.
It takes a lot of faith.
Whoa, you can't sneak that in there. Saying it takes a lot of faith. No, it takes no faith at all. It is basic science. It's simple, really. It requires no faith.
The third reason is the planet Saturn. I mean, Saturn's rings are unstable. Saturn's rings are actually dispersing right now as we speak, and before long, those rings will be completely gone.
Well, before long is kind of deceptive, isn't it? Like, you say, oh, before long, everyone's thinking, oh yeah, you know, the next 100, 200 years. No, we're talking billions of years. Millions at the very least. But Saturn has a planet orbiting it that replenishes those rings with ice. I think Enceladus ejects crap through cryocanos. I could be wrong. I know one of the moons does, or it could be Jupiter. Anyway, one of the moons ejects the crap that you see orbiting around Saturn in the rings, and Saturn also has what are known as shepherd moons, and those shepherd moons actually keep those rings where that's why they're called shepherd moons. So they keep the rings as they are. The rings aren't going away fast. It's like saying the Earth, yes, it loses atmosphere, thousands of tons of atmosphere every single day. But there is so much of it that it is going to take millions of years for the Earth, but millions of billions of years for the rings as well. When scientists talk about things happening in the universe, the timescales they're talking about are massive. The human mind cannot even comprehend how long it actually is. So again, this argument falls flat, and I'm not a scientist at all. This is just common knowledge.
Now, if Saturn, the planet, and the rings around it were 4.5 billion years old, those rings would have completely dispersed and deteriorated by now.
Well, we don't have records from that long ago, so we can't actually say whether those rings are the same age as the planet. They could have been formed millions of years after the planet had been formed. They could be the remnants of moons that have collided. We have no way of knowing that. So to say that they formed with the planet is wrong, because that much would... all the rock and ice and everything that makes up the rings would have coalesced along with the planet, but something has kept it shattered the way it is, which is the other moons and stuff, which means they must have formed before the rings, and the rings are just not going anywhere because they're kept in lines and stuff by these moons, all these other moons tugging everything. It's just the way it is. It doesn't require any intervention by any divine being. It doesn't require it to be young. It could have happened 10 million years ago. We wouldn't know. It could have happened 2 million years ago. We wouldn't know. We don't have those records. But we have records older than the 6,000 years that you guys claim. So, just saying.
But they're still there, which means that they were created recently, not billions of years ago. The fourth reason is simply stars. Now, a star will die 1 per 25 years per galaxy. And so, if the galaxy was less than 10,000 years old, we would predict to only find about 200 dead stars in our galaxy.
Well, no, you see, that's an estimate. We don't know the actual rate of star death. We are learning new things with new probes all the time. What you're talking about is supernovas. Supernovas are very different to star death. A supernova requires a very specific type of star and very specific conditions. You can't just say a star dies and we know it happens, because we don't know it happens. We can't tell star death in other galaxies unless it is a supernova. We don't know star death in our own galaxy. So you can't sit there and say, oh yes, there's 25 or one star per 25 years per galaxy. They are supernovas, not actual star death. I mean, yes, like a supernova generally does kill the star. But there are also other things called micronovas, where the star, recurring novas, not micronovas. A star can explode, then later, the same star will do it again. These are real things. This actually happens. We've observed it. We have records of it happening. But supernovas they're not rare, but they are incredibly hard to detect. So your once per 25 years per galaxy, considering how many galaxies there are, that's just not how star death works. So this argument again falls flat.
And sure enough, that's what we find. We find less than 200 dead stars in the galaxy. If you look at other galaxies, you'll only find about 200 dead stars in each galaxy, which means that if evolution were true, and if the evolutionary timescale of billions of years was taking place, you would have hundreds of thousands of dead stars.
We can't see stars in other galaxies. They are so incredibly far away that we can see the galaxy, but we can't see the individual stars unless they go nova. And that is what we talk about when star death. There are other types of star death. A red giant will slowly collapse into a white dwarf. We see white dwarfs. White dwarfs are considered dead stars. We see them in our own galaxy. We hope we don't see too many supernovas in our own galaxy, because that could be very bad for us. But we see remnants of stars in our own galaxy all the time. This isn't a very good argument.
Throughout the entire universe, the fact that you find only 200 dead stars per galaxy literally proves beyond any shadow of doubt that the galaxies, and our galaxy in particular, the Milky Way, is a young galaxy.
Well, no, the galaxy's fucking huge, and we've only explored a teeny tiny slice of it. Once James Webb goes up 15 years behind schedule, we'll see a lot more. But this image here, these stars that you see, they're not stars. They're galaxies. Really, really far away galaxies. You can't see the individual stars in that galaxy. That's not the Milky Way galaxy. We don't know what the galaxy looks like.
The most powerful reason is actually the magnetic field of the Earth and other planets. See, magnetic fields are actually what keep our planets, and keep the Earth in particular, from being bombarded with space dust. If the magnetic field was too strong, we would die. If it's too weak, we would die. It has to be just right in order to protect us from issues from outer space or sunlight, deadly radiation coming through.
The Earth's magnetic field is currently weakening. This chart shows you the weakening of Earth's magnetic field and a projection of what is actually happening with it all, and when it's estimated to not collapse per se, but flip, so to speak. And there's been doomsayers saying for decades that the magnetic field is going to flip and all of this. They're kind of right, it is going to flip, but there's no reason for doomsaying about it. So this argument kind of fails, because the magnetic field is failing. It will come back, but it is dropping off. It is weakening. And it doesn't stop everything from getting through. You see the auroras? You ever seen them? Yeah, that's the Earth's magnetic field in action. If you can start to see the aurora at lower latitudes, there, that is the one, then you know the field is failing and you should probably get underground or something. But it happens. It's happened numerous times. It happens every 12,000 years or so. And the next one is probably due around 2150 or something like that. So in the next 100 or so years, we can expect the magnetic field to flip or fail and then flip. We're not sure the mechanism behind it because we've never had the technology to actually see it happen as it's happening. We do now. We can see, you see the graph, how it's dropping off. So this argument, again, falls flat. Matt, I thought you were smarter than this. I thought you would do your research into this. I still want that coffee, though.
And so, the Earth's magnetic field in particular is very important, and it is vital to our survival. The half-life of the Earth's magnetic field is actually 1,400 years.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Half-life? No. No. It doesn't have a half-life. It has peaks and troughs. It's just the way it works. It goes down, and then it's going to go back up. It doesn't have a half-life.
And so what that means is that every 1,400 years, the Earth's magnetic field gets chopped in half. And so you can only lose so much before you've lost it all. And if the magnetic field gets too weak, like I said, the sun's rays will penetrate the Earth's atmosphere
every 1400 years it gets cut in half. So they had the tools to measure Earth's magnetic field 1400 years ago. Now, your argument would be that we can test soil samples from 1400 years ago and say that yes, we can see in these soil samples that the magnetic field was stronger, it was getting less solar particles from 1400 years ago. But when we say that this soil is from 65 million years ago and contains dinosaur fossils, you say no, that's wrong. You can't have it both ways. Either the soil samples and the dinosaurs are both correct, or your argument still falls flat. I mean, it falls flat anyway.
And kill everything on the Earth. With the half-life being only 1400 years, you take that back, even 10,000 years. If you were to go beyond 10,000 years, the Earth's magnetic field would be so powerful that it would literally kill everything on Earth.
No. Look at the graph.
As well. So, no matter how the evolutionists or atheists want to play this game of millions and billions of years, it's not going to go their way. Because truly, the facts are on our side. Observation is on our side. Everything that we see in the solar system actually demonstrates that the Earth and the universe and the galaxies, the entire world is young and was created recently and not billions of years ago.
Except that it doesn't. And it wasn't. And your arguments fall flat. Because you don't do any research. You just make these claims.
Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the thumbs up and comment down below. Make sure to give us a good rating because I want this content to get out to the masses and for people to understand that they were lied to by the public school system.
The public school system? They teach this in private schools as well. So, I mean, it doesn't matter what school system you go to. They teach you facts in school. They don't teach you religious nonsense. They don't teach you that some sky daddy went, there's the world. There's night and day. There's humans. No.
And that there is truth in the Lord Jesus Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life, and His word bears witness with everything that we see around us.
Okay, we'll leave it there. It's getting too preachy now. We'll just... Which is... And cut to outro. Oh! That was a long one. So, I'm not going to dick around in this outro. I'm just going to say thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Hit like. Share it around. Special thanks to Purple Haze, Caustic, Lisa and Jez. And as always, don't be a dick.